I want to talk about a lot of things, including price pressures, including your port as a barometer of our economy, which is fascinating to talk to the likes of yourself or Gene Soroka. Frequently more accurate anecdotal evidence than we ever get out of a data set. But I want to start with something that you're introducing. This is a new idea, and the reason why you're in town here, I believe you just came from the Department of Transportation.
That's correct.
To talk about, as we look at the cost of diesel, jet fuel, the price that it costs to take goods from Asia to your port, there's a new idea as we look for alternatives, and it's nuclear. Small modular reactors on a boat? How close to reality is this?
Well, we took the first step today. This memorandum of cooperation with the Maritime Administration is really the first of its kind.
Yeah.
And what it does, Joe, is it establishes a framework for the proper agencies at the federal level to start having conversations with a port like ours, a major national asset, and our partners in the private sector to look at ways to introduce SMR technology in a safe and reliable fashion. Look, you described it very well, everything that's going on in the energy market. The cost of fuel and the uncertainty surrounding that is strengthening the case for energy diversification. Now is the right time for us to explore nuclear energy.
We talk about these small reactors pretty frequently when it comes to data center, right? That's the future of AI, how you get them off the grid. You put a little reactor right there at the plant and everybody's happy. We've heard about the U.S. Navy for years, for generations, using nuclear in its aircraft carriers and submarines. Putting this on commercial vessels raises a lot of questions. Who's responsible for it? It's not a military operation any longer. What if a boat sinks? Could this be a target? How do you answer those questions?
These are all great questions, and they are questions that need to be asked and answered. And one of the reasons why we decided to join this memorandum of cooperation now is because there are a lot of questions that need to be answered. And safety is at the top of the list, right? When it comes to safety, there's no calendar. And so we thought it was important to start the conversation, bring in the agencies and the partners in the private sector to start thinking through some of these scenarios. The reality is, when you look at nuclear, it's a carbon-free energy source. It's already being used in different sectors, industries around the globe. What we're trying to answer through this MOC with MARAD is how do we introduce it in a safe, reliable fashion?
Sure.
And let's not forget, the Port of Long Beach is one of 18 commercial strategic seaports. So we're already an asset for the U.S. government in the event of any military activity. So it just makes perfect sense for us, a leading port, a major gateway, and a commercial strategic seaport to be the first port to enter into this type of cooperation.
Well, it's interesting that it's coming from you, the port, not a commercial shipping line, not a ship builder. This is a pretty entrepreneurial move for you, is it not?
Well, you know, the Port of Long Beach has been around for about 115 years, but in order for us to stay competitive, we have to think like a startup. That's exactly what we're doing. What got us here isn't going to get us there. And this is why in January I launched our new 2050 vision. And our plan, Joe, is very simple. We want to double our container throughput to 10 million to 20 million container units and build a port of the future in the process, a port that's going to be clean. And we're also leveraging partnerships. For example, Bluecor, which is a startup that just entered into a lease with the Port of Long Beach. They're the ones who are doing the R&D behind this technology, and they're the ones who are going to be working with the port, with MARAD, and the other federal agencies to make sure that we do this reliably and safely.
When you look around the world right now and consider what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz, what might be happening in the Red Sea, it raises so many questions about technology like this. Could you take a nuclear-powered ship through the Strait?
Well, it's a great question. I wouldn't do that right now. But when you consider the advantages of what this energy source offers, it's worth exploring. That's what this MOC is all about. It's asking those questions, bringing in the experts, bringing in the agencies, making sure that it's introduced in a safe and reliable fashion.
I want to hear where this goes. I think our audience will be fascinated to learn as well. There are massive economic implications here, just like the ones we're dealing with now. The reason we're having this conversation as we started out is because of the price pressures that we're feeling from overseas. And I'm wondering to what extent, if any, that is impacting business in terms of traffic at the port and just the conversations you're having with shippers right now who are enduring this.
Well, it's interesting. The impact is felt, and it's felt first at the pump, but it cascades across the transportation network because so much of the cost involved in transporting goods from port to port, and once it arrives at destination, from endpoint to endpoint, it requires that fuel. But surprisingly, Joe, the resilience of the American consumer, the resilience of the supply chain. Here we are in the middle of these soaring fuel costs, and yet at the Port of Long Beach, we're ahead of a record run last year. Through the first half of 2026, we're actually 2 percentage points ahead of last year. And last year was a record year for us.
Wow.
And a lot of it is because shippers are trying to hedge their bets. They're trying to mitigate the uncertainty of additional tariffs or additional soaring fuel costs, and they're advancing their shipments. And like you said a moment ago, traditionally ports like ours have been pretty good barometers of what's going to happen to the rest across the economy in the months ahead.
Well, that's encouraging, considering new tariffs are coming, and this is the time when the holiday season is set, right? What happens in July and August will pay off in November and December. What kind of a holiday season will we have based on the currents that you're seeing now?
We've already begun to see holiday gifts arrive into our port.
And that's something?
I mean, we're not going to miss the season.
Yeah.
In past years, there was concern of whether or not folks were going to have access to the hottest toys. They're already here.
Right. Wow.
And that's the remarkable thing about these, whether it's fuel costs or whether it's some of the uncertainty surrounding trade policy, it's enticed everyone to advance their shipments.
That's really encouraging, I think, for a lot of people who are listening right now. Talk to me about the other end of things. When you have trucks lining up and they're paying over $5 a gallon for diesel, does that impact business, or are these businesses swallowing that cost right now, or are they passing it on?
It's a mix. Most businesses absorb some of it, pass on to some of the consumers.
Look at the transportation lines, J.B. Hunt. I mean, these stocks are at all-time highs. They're printing money, it looks like.
Well, they are, but affordability continues to be a key issue, not just for policymakers, but for operators like us. And it's important for us to keep an eye on that, because at a certain point, that resilience muscle is not going to be able to stretch to that degree. So this is why, again, I say, what is happening right now in the energy market is strengthening the case for energy diversification. This is why this historic memorandum of cooperation with the Maritime Administration makes a ton of sense.
How's your labor force in terms of the port itself and drivers? This was a real concern coming out of COVID. How do we get enough drivers, even if the goods make it to port, to get them around the country?
Our workforce are the true heroes. They're the ones who move the containers. They're the ones who power our port. And right now we have a very healthy and robust workforce. They show up. During COVID, they masked up, and we never had to close a single shift. So it's a testament to the resilience of our workforce as well.
What's the timeline, getting back to where we started, on small nuclear reactors getting on ships? Do you have one, or is it impossible to tell right now? Is this 5 years, 10 years away?
You know, I can't tell you exactly when it's going to happen, but what I can tell you is this MOC sets the path forward for us to have those conversations that need to be had. We have willing partners in the private sector who are going through the R&D right now. We're bringing in the experts. And again, we're going to do this safely and reliably.
Is this administration the reason why this is happening now?
You know,
there seems to have been an embrace of nuclear that didn't exist before.
SMR has been around for the last 10 years. Nuclear power has been around, as you mentioned, the U.S. Navy.
Sure.
As a matter of fact, a fun fact, the very warcraft vessel to use nuclear power was the USS Long Beach back in the 1960s.
Is that right?
Yes, it's been around for a while. But again, it's the application and the adoption. If we can introduce this technology in a safe and reliable fashion, I think there will be a lot of advantages.
Would this be like an aircraft carrier or a submarine where you'd have, in this case, Maersk would put a cargo vessel on the water and be out there for a year?
Well, right now, our partner Bluecore is looking at how we could leverage SMR to power commercial vessels. That's the beginning phase. Where it goes from there will depend largely on how we develop the safety protocols, the operational standards, and make sure that this technology is adopted and implemented safely and reliably.